97.7 ACK FM. On the line with me right now is Martha Tirk. Martha is with the Census Bureau. Is that correct, Martha? Is it the Census Bureau or is it 2020 Census? Who are you with?
Good question. I am the administrator for the town of Nantucket's 2020 Census Complete Count Committee. How's that for a title?
How do you fit that on a card? I mean...
I don't have one.
I can understand why. Now, the reason why Martha is calling, folks, is because we are way behind the curve, as it were, when it comes to responding to this very important census information. I'm correct, yes?
Absolutely.
I read this morning in Daybreak that the numbers are way low for Nantucket. Do you have that information?
The numbers have actually ticked up since Bill was able to access them.
Okay.
Currently, our response rate is just shy of 15%, and that compares to the state response rate of about 47% and the national response rate, which is even a little lower than that, of just under 46%. But we're ticking up. So that's good. We're up half a percentage point in the last couple of days, which seems to be the same, at least for now, the same as the other categories of response. But we really need to do better. Okay,
Martha, talk to me like I'm a 5-year-old. The census comes in the mail, you pick it up, and then what do you do?
Okay, here's the way it works. 2020 is the first time that you can respond to the census online or even by phone. You can do it with your smartphone. You can call one of 13 numbers to get an operator in a language that you speak. The online form is available in 13 languages as well at 2020census.gov. You may or may not have gotten a form in the mail because Census Bureau operations, like everything else right now, have been upended by the public health crisis. And some forms get mailed, but only to residential mailing addresses. That's the kicker on Nantucket. We have so many people who get their mail through post office boxes that they haven't received a form yet. There's a state of affairs in Census Bureau speak called update leave, which means that they actually send Census Bureau employees, out into the field to hand deliver census forms to homes that do not receive mail through the post office. So, in other words, they're not on a carrier route.
Okay.
And that's not happening. So there's a pretty large swath of people on Nantucket who get their mail at one of our post offices, and they have not received anything from the Census Bureau yet. That's just one problem.
Okay. And the other problem is, do you think people are just refusing to participate?
For many people, this is not top of mind, certainly understandably.
Sure.
People are worried about their jobs and their kids and their health and their parents and their relatives who live far away. It's an anxious time and with a lot of uncertainty. But that's all the more reason to think about this, because so many of the services that we are relying on and will continue to rely on in the wake of this pandemic situation are funded based in part on census statistics.
The information that we glean from this census really comes back to help us in the long run.
Absolutely. So federal funds are allocated to communities on the basis of how many people live there. And without an accurate count, we, like other communities, would not get what we deserve to help support hospitals and health clinics and emergency services and schools and senior programs and food assistance programs and things that all of us rely on daily. It also helps us plan for the future to know how many people are living on Nantucket. It helps us understand what we're going to need for the next 10 years and beyond, really.
Right, and we've said this before, Martha, and we need to really stress this, that this information that you provide does not go to any other government agency.
Absolutely not. There is a federal statute that protects individual data. The only information that is provided by the Census Bureau to any other agency, federal, state, or local, are aggregate statistics. X number of people live in a community. This is the age breakdown. This is a gender breakdown. There's some ethnicity questions because there's special funding for certain programs for certain groups, but no personal information can be released to any other agency for any purpose at any level of government.
Okay. Is there a timeline, Martha? Are we under the gun on this?
Well, like so many other timelines right now, things are a little fungible.
Sure.
Initially, the census was to close at the end of July. Currently, it's pushed out to the middle of August. Whether that continues to be adjusted or not based on the public health situation is still to be determined. There are statutory, meaning written into the law, reporting obligations for the Census Bureau. So in other words, by December 31st, the Census Bureau needs to report its findings and present its data to the Congress. And that is actually written into law and not easily changed. Operationally, things can move around a little bit. It means there'll be some scrambling to get that data, sorted and analyzed on the other end. But for right now, the middle of August is our deadline.
Okay. How much time are we talking about from start to finish? Is this going to take out of somebody's day when they sit down to complete this information?
Maybe 10 minutes.
10 minutes.
It depends how many people live in your household.
Okay.
At 2020census.gov, people can learn more about how to do it. And again, they can get instructions in 13 languages. They can find phone numbers if they prefer to speak to someone over the phone. I filled out my census using my smartphone. It took me, since there are only two of us, it took me literally 5 minutes.
Wow. So if you get nothing in the mail, you can still go to 2020census.gov and take care of all of it.
Absolutely. You just enter. There's a place where it asks for your census ID. You do not need that. Underneath that question, there's a place to enter your street address, and that's all you need to do.
Okay.
Just enter your street address and remember to count everyone that lives at that address.
All right. And it is 100% safe. Nothing bad's going to happen to you if you fill out this information.
I personally do not want to be a guarantor of that, but I
will
understand.
be. I'll guarantee
okay.
that. Yeah.
All right.
I got your
Chris,
back.
You're a better known voice than I, so that
Don't worry.
works.
I'll take all the heat. So, Martha, before we run, is there anything that we've forgotten?
I just want to remind people that though we have an annual town census in our community, usually people receive that in January. This is not the town census. This is different. The U.S. Census happens once every 10 years.
Okay.
And it informs funding and representation for the following 10 years.
All right, so don't confuse the two.
Exactly.
All right. Martha Tirk, it's been very enlightening. Thank you so much for spending a few minutes with us.
Thank you, Chris, for having me. Be safe, be healthy out there.
You too.